All right, good morning. It's Tuesday, and it's going to be another great day. It's going to be warm where I am. It's going to be in the 60s. That makes me happy. 60s, I don't have to feel like I'm like it's middle of winter. 50s are iffy for me. That's just the way I'm wired. But anyway, it's going to be a great day, and I hope you had a great night and a good rest. And so we're looking forward to just kind of jumping into some truth today. Looking forward to weekend and everything else, but man, I'm trying to live in the moment and just enjoy what's taking place right now. So we are in the book of Titus, and walking through. It's a great book for life, for all of things. Paul is in the middle of writing a letter, trying to correct the church that's kind of gotten sideways on the island of Crete, and so there's a bunch of house churches strung together. And Titus is over these churches. Now, Titus is Crete is an island of 100 cities. That's what they called it back in the day, an island of 100 cities. And so I don't know how many house churches that they had, but there were multiple, because he said that he should appoint elders in all the towns. And so we know there were several. And so Titus would kind of make the circuit, right? I mean, he would just meet with them. However that worked, it's kind of intriguing to wonder, did they all meet at the same time, and he just rotated on Sundays, or did they meet different times of the week, and he did it like that? But however it did, they were passionate about establishing a good, healthy church, and all of us should be. We live in a world where we aren't, I don't think, convinced that community life is essential. I think COVID has helped us get used to the fact of isolation. And so we gather with the few that we know where their germs are, so to speak. And then there's just this, and I think it's out of sight, out of mind. But statistically across the country, churches have diminished upward of 60% in their attendance, and more in some places. And this isn't me preaching about that. I just think it's important that we understand that a good, strong community of believers that gather is the best thing you could do for yourself and for your family, is to have a good, strong community presence of people that of like-mindedness. And so anyway, enough of that. That's kind of, but here's where he's going. He is said, Titus, I need you to set in order what remains. And there were two things that were essential in Paul's mind: good, godly leaders and good teaching. And really, when you think about it, it's true everywhere. If you want a good business, what do you need? Good, godly business owners and good, solid principles, teaching, philosophy of life. You in business, you need that. You want a good, strong family. Both mom and dad need to be good, godly leaders and people who teach good, solid truth to their kids. And so we just started looking at that yesterday. And so we looked at really three components, two actually. He said the elder, an elder now, remember, is one who's mature spiritually, that they understand and can oversee the church. They want to guard the church. They have this love to just kind of make sure truth is always at the forefront. And then there's the shepherd aspect, where there's that tender care about people to make sure that their needs are met, that they are growing healthy, all of the things. It's really the elements of what happens in a family, and that's why I love teaching this so much. But he says the husband or the elder should be wholly devoted to his wife. Now that's the concept. There's a holy devotion, and so when you're looking at a pastor, an elder, whatever that is, you want if he is married, you want to know that he's wholly devoted to his wife. That it's just an impenetrable fortress in that sense. Doesn't mean they don't have trouble, doesn't mean all those things, but he's wholly devoted to his wife. And then when you look at his children, if he has children, they should be children who believe. They're faithful. They believe the teachings of the Word of God, and they live them out. They're not accused of being wild and disobedient. How many times have we found ourselves sometimes in a place where, my kids are wild? But there's a brief moment there in the early ages where they are, but that should be reined in the first 3 to 4 years of their life. After that, your kids should be able to walk into a home and not tear it up and be respectful, and be mannerly and compliant with adult. That's the concept. That's what he's looking for in that. Now he moves from family today, which is where we're going, verse 7, to the negative aspect of things, the qualities you don't want to see. So first he gave the umbrella. He should be a good, strong family man, wholly devoted to his wife, really spending time with his kids so that he's bringing them up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And then he says, now, here are a few things, if you see, these are major red flags. So as we go through this, think in terms of your pastor, your elders and all that, but also just let's apply them to our own life because they're very valuable. And so here's what he says. Let's read it first. I'm reading the NIV. He says, since an overseer manages God's household, he must be blameless. He reminds us of what he said earlier. Not overbearing, not quick-tempered, not given to drunkenness, not violent, not pursuing dishonest gain. 5 things that are negative. And so we're just going to look at those and kind of gauge our own life on a scale, 1 to 10 kind of thing. Hey, where are we in this? So let's jump in here and look at this. The term not self-willed. It's an interesting term. Altheides. It's a compound word. Auto, you know that, right? Autonomy, meaning solo, means self. And then hedomai is where we get our word, in the sense of hedonism, right? It's just this pleasure. And so the word comes down to that they're self-pleasuring. In other words, they are they care about gratifying themselves. Life is about them. That's kind of what that means. They're absorbed with their own self-interest. They're fixed on themselves. They are turned inward, right? Everything is about them. Now, I can be met in a subtle fashion as well, right? Not everybody's just going to tell you, hey, it's all about me. Sometimes they feign and pretend that, hey, they care about you, but all the while, it's about them. And you and me, we can read people well. We know what that looks like. This phrase was used in several different issues. Peter used it in calling out false teachers. He said they follow corrupt desires of the flesh and they despise authority. Peter used that in the same frame where he said these are creatures born to die. So I love the concept that both of these, Peter and Paul, are going, hey, stay far away from those people who are just corrupt and they're all about the desire of their flesh, of their life. Jesus actually used this word when he spoke of the parable of the sower. The seed that fell on the thorny ground and the cares of the world and the pleasure and riches led them astray. That's what he's talking about. A person who's self-willed, the cares of the world are all up in them. They're not unencumbered. They're not free because the world has entangled them. So when you see someone that is self-pleasuring, is self-absorbed, it's about them, you know that you found somebody that's entangled in things. They're not free just to do ministry. They're not free to be the parent that they should be. And so when you think about your own life, let's just kind of analyze that. Hey, where are we in that frame? Titus uses this same phrase later on in the 3rd chapter, and he said that they are, speaking of the world, foolish, disobedient, deceived, here's the term, enslaved by all kinds of passions. And so here's someone who's just bound to selfishness. That they're chained to themselves, this selfishness. So that's kind of the word. James uses it in the inference of when he says, don't say today or tomorrow we're going to go to this or that city and we're going to spend a year there and we're going to make money. That he uses that term in reference to that so that they're self-absorbed. He said, don't be like that. Rather, if the Lord wills. See, what's that a hint to? Not my will, not my pleasure, but the Lord's pleasure. You want to find a pastor who's about the Lord's pleasure and pursuing that. But let's just keep this practically to ourselves. So where are you in that sense? How self-absorbed are you about your own life? Listen, the whole world is propelling us that way, aren't they? All this, self-care, take care of me. If I'm not healthy, I can't help others, and there's a measure of truth in that, but just enough so that Satan can slither in there and use that to make us selfish slobs and off-standing people who just say, well, I'm putting up my boundaries and so I'm done with you. I'm grateful that Jesus never did that with me. And so I think we would do wise to just listen to what the qualifications of these elders are and think through that. So how self-absorbed are you? How self-centered are you? Does everything have to revolve around you? And I know we play the game. I'm not asking you to play the game and go, well, no. I mean, just a few times. Let's just have an honest conversation. How self-absorbed are you as it relates to life? As it relates to your spouse? As it relates to your kids? As it relates to your friends? See, this is like humility, right? Where we regard others as more important than ourselves, that we allow, I want Tammy's agenda to be above mine. I love it when it's together, but what's the goal? Humility means to regard myself as the least important, right? To regard you as more important than me. To regard my kids as more important. That doesn't mean we just give them everything they want, but it means we always are striving to do what's best for them. And the same thing should be true of our friends. So anyway, that's number one. The second one, he says, not overbearing, not quick-tempered. Now, interesting, right? Man, this one, whew, I mean, I don't have a short. I'm not quick-tempered, except you put me behind a wheel mostly. All right, I mean that's kind of where it is, and it's a tough deal. The word is orgulos. It means prone to anger. Like there's this, you're bent toward lashing out. I mean, your first instinct is to explode, and by nature of that, and these things trickle down. I think when you're prone to explode, you're indicating a self-weakness in your own life because you're blaming somebody else for whatever's going on. That's where most anger comes from. We're mad that somebody did something to us. That driver cut me off. My wife doesn't do this. My husband doesn't do this. My kids won't do that. I'm mad because they're messing up my life. And so this is where this quick-temperedness comes from. Because you don't want a leader that's just going to explode on you because you're not measuring up and you're not doing what you should, or you're interfering with their life. You're a nuisance, right? I don't want to be around that. And so that's the term that they hold on because they're prone toward anger. Then they hold resentment. That's where road rage comes from. Somebody cuts you off, and you hold on to that resentment, and you're bitter. The whole world is against you, and you finally blow off steam, and there you go. And that's how those things happen. That's how crimes of passion happen a lot of times. There's an anger settling because somebody's done me wrong, and I've let it just boil. I've let it stew a little bit, right? Crock pot kind of thing, and that bitterness is just churning, and I'm getting angrier and angrier, but I'm not doing anything about it. And then all of a sudden it's like this explosion happens and bitterness spills out everywhere. He says don't appoint elders who are quick-tempered in that sense. I think a great test, we used to do this a lot, we were looking for elders, is what do kids think about them? Kids are a great test for so many things, patience and love and all of those things. If you see kids wanting to be with that person, that's a good sign. That's a good sign that there's no fear in that kid's eyes that this guy's going to explode on me if I'm not careful. And so I find that a great test a lot of times when I'm just looking at leadership and other things. But so where are you in that area, quick-tempered, right? What put yourself on a scale there and look at that. The third one, not given to drunkenness. Now, it simply means, literally the phrase means don't sit long at your wine. And I used to joke and say, so, hey, let's drink up, right? I mean, we're not going to linger forever. Let's just take our shots and get on down the road. I'm joking. But sitting long at the wine means that, because we know what happens, right? We lose control. If you've ever been around one, you know the filter is gone. You say what you think. You do what you want. Your inner horrible self comes out in all its glory, and that's what it looks like. And so you're controlled by something else. Paul told us that all things are lawful, but not all things are profitable. All things are lawful, but I won't be mastered by anything. And that's the issue. Some shouldn't drink at all because they don't know the end game. And that's a dangerous place to be. Others can drink in moderation. There's no sin in that. As much as old school guys used to try to make us believe that the wine was different in Jesus' day and all that, and it was watered down, you couldn't get drunk, it just belies the whole fact that people were getting drunk with that wine. So let's stop the silly conversations. Even Jesus drank wine. We know that because he said, hey, the Son of Man comes eating and drinking, and you call him a drunkard and a glutton. But yet John the Baptist comes and he doesn't, and you get off on him too. So in that slight offhand conversation, Jesus revealed that he did drink, and so but he did so in moderation. Now, I don't want to start any arguments there about that. I'm just telling you what the word says. And so, look, it's gotten so commonplace these days. I mean, there's like wine in the word and all these things going on and all of that. And women today seem to be really just sloshing it up with the wine thing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm asking you to ask yourself, does that control you? Are you thinking about that throughout the day on your way home, about what I'm going to drink when I get home and all those things? That is an issue. And you should consider that. I don't want to be a prisoner to anything. The greatest freedom is to be uncontrolled about anything other than Jesus, and that should be the goal of our life. And so, if you can't handle it, stop it. Right? Don't dabble in it. I mean, there's really nothing good that comes from it. Even Solomon said, "Hey, man, I expanded my mind with wine to see if it wouldn't unleash." And there is a measure where there's a freedom from your brain, and you can actually think more creatively with a little bit of that. But it's funny, like that one sip too much, and then you get stupid. And so even Solomon goes, "It's just vanity. I'm not doing that anymore." Right? So let's just be wise in that, and then not violent. It's just similar to not quick-tempered, but it takes it a little bit further. It's paklites. It's a fighter. It's a striker. It's a brawler. It's gone from just being angry to I want to find something to smash. Right? So they're violent. They're quarrelsome. They're looking for a fight. Is that you? Or you're just ready? I mean, you're loaded. You're waiting for somebody to walk up to you and say something so you can just go off on them. Listen, man, I don't want that as a leader in our church. And I don't want that in our home. I don't want to be that kind of leader in my home. I don't want to be known as the violent man. And neither should you in that sense. And so these are the questions that we ask ourselves. The last one, not pursuing dishonest gain. Akishokerdase is the Greek word there, and it means greedy. It means looking for easy money. Right? And he was slamming that because he was like, hey, these false teachers, that's all they're doing. They're looking for easy money. They're going to come in, tell you some tales, get you to throw some money in their coffers, and they're going to get on down the road. Charlatans is what they call them. They're just people who just stole money. It was easy money. I can go con this person out of that, and I can con that person out of that. Listen, that's a dangerous place for a pastor to be because it's much like the politicians. If they can find easy money, they'll say what they want to say. Every politician up in our Congress seems to be bought out these days, right? And they're all doing things that they know isn't true to who they are, but they want the easy money. And so they say what they should say. They vote this way. And we do that in our own lives. We try to play politics too much and straddle the fence. And it's because some are looking for easy money. And he's saying here, look, I don't want a leader that's looking for easy money. Well, kept you too long again. These are supposed to be about 15 minutes. I go a little longer. Man, I love you guys. Have a great day. I can't wait to see you tomorrow.